Challenge yourself to change lives with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. They make a no-strings-attached charitable donation when participants complete one or all of the 6 athletic challenges. In doing so, they aim to build a worldwide community that transcends sport and encourages people to make a positive lifestyle change while helping those in need. For 2023, a difficult but doable set of challenges has been created by Jeff Privete himself. They have all been inspired by his personal experiences throughout 2022. The events can be done in any order, and with the exception of the Road Gravel Challenge, there is no time limit for completion of a given event. All you have to do is make it through. Completing all 6 will require an incredible amount of dedication, courage, and a willingness to embrace the journey, regardless of the outcome. Won't you join Jeff at thebigbeltbucklechallenge.org? This is the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneurs Syndicate. Rod Kuntz here with Jim Riley. How's everybody doing? Rod, what's up?
I'll tell you, Rod's doing great, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just came upstairs from the gym. So I've been working out on Brad Dunn's fitness program. If you follow my podcast, I interviewed him a couple of months ago, and he's just hardcore, right? Up every day at 3:15 a.m. doing push-ups and doing his thing. And I can't say I've been as consistent with that 4:30 a.m. wake up call that you helped me out get started. Especially today, I was working a rodeo last night that we put on over here till 1 a.m. But anyways, I feel good. Week and a half into a good, solid workout program with macros and healthy eating. No sweets per se, no alcohol, and I feel really good. So, anyways, that's what I'm up to today. That's why I'm on fire right now.
That's awesome. I'm on that same sort of a thing. Less of a workout. I am back to work with no restrictions. So
yeah, nice.
That's a good thing. Doc says he wants me healthy. So
we like health. Yeah. Hey, by the way, good job, Rod, on your morning commute Instagram posts.
No, thank you. I did take. Thin. I took a couple of days off when I had some different tests and stuff I had to get up early and do. So I did take 2 days off, but it was good to be back in. I did post those days though. I did post. I just didn't do my 4 a.m. post.
Yes, you did.
Or 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock somewhere. It's been. I've had to get up early the last couple of days, so it's not just get back to work and go to work at 5. It's been get up and go to work at 4. So makes it even more fun.
This isn't a topic for the day, but what I've realized, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is having the discipline to have a schedule and what you can accomplish in the day. If you have a schedule, you've already mapped out maybe the night before your list of to-dos, what your goals and objectives are. And if you can do that, you're going to have a successful day, no matter how you look at it, because you're chipping away at whatever it is. And I have found in the last, week and a half now that I've been on this program, like I'm back to getting up in that 4 o'clock hour, whether it's 4:15 or 4:55. And I'm so much more productive. It's crazy to think like at 8 o'clock, when most people are like getting up and kind of wrestling around, I've already got 3 hours worth of work or something in. I'm 3 hours ahead of everybody else, just like you.
And it's good work. I mean, it's more productive work, I guess. I don't know. I just seem more focused, and maybe it's just because I like mornings. And I don't know. Make friends with the day. That's the long and the short of it. Just get in, get after it.
I'm not going to get up that early and waste those first few hours. I'm going to make them meaningful, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So one quick announcement, catch you in the beginning of the show, is we will be announcing on the next show a big event that we have in California on August 24th. Unfortunately, Rod won't be traveling about that time, so he's going to be our support mechanism. And just stay tuned. We're excited about what's to come for the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate and bringing a ton of value to our members. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Rod, I have 2 topics.
Let's go.
Okay. We're going to have to be light on at least one of them so that we don't go too long. Okay. So this goes right back to Brad Dunn. I was listening to his Instagram stories this morning while I was working out. And, everybody's doing those ask me a question thing, right?
Yes.
It kind of bothers me because it's like, you got nothing better to do. I don't know. anyways, I'm listening while I'm working out. And the question, somebody had asked early, your height and your weight. And I think he said he was 5'11", 190, and he's pure muscle. And then like 10 questions later, somebody says, what's your height and weight in metrics? And I love the response, because, dude, this is the United States. We don't use the metric system. I'm sure you can do the math. Again, I'm 190, 5'11",
that's awesome.
And then moved on to the next question. And so this is my first topic, because I wrote him, I'm like, I love that response. The topic is understanding the culture in which you're doing business in, right? And right. That's a harsh example, and maybe he was being a little curt with that guy, but he's right. This is the United States. I couldn't tell you what my metrics are, my height in centimeters, and why should I? Right. But if you're going to be in business, understand the culture in which you're doing business. Like, for example, this is a great quick story while I let you gather your thoughts. See, that's a little trick I do so you can have time to catch up on the topic.
Yeah, you do that.
When I was doing business with the distillery down in Mexico, we came out with our Blanco tequila for Azuñia, and it was the best. Of course, it was the best Blanco you've ever had, right? It was amazing. And there was a formula to it, and we knew what it was. And when I brought it to the U.S., we brought a lot up. So it lasted, we brought $500,000 worth of product up to the United States, and we were a new brand. So it lasted about 3-4 months. And so when the second batch came of Blanco tequila, and I opened up a bottle, I was like, this tastes different. Why does it taste different? So I go to my distillery manager in the U.S. He's like, I don't know. Let me find out. You're right. It does kind of taste different. So then he calls the distillery, and, back and forth. And there's no language barrier because he spoke Spanish and they speak Spanish, but there was a culture barrier. And this will blow your mind, because it blew my mind. What they kept saying back to my distillery manager is, we've done the best job we could possibly do. This batch is blessed. We had the women and the men got together before we harvested the piñas. We prayed, we celebrated, we went out and harvested the tequila, the agave plants. We brought them back. We had every worker. They trimmed every agave plant like perfectly. We put it in the oven. Like, we're so happy and blessed, with the business that we have on, we got a second big batch, right? And he went on and on and on about how great of a job that they did, right? And that finally they were so proud to ship that second batch. Now imagine how I'm feeling, going, oh my gosh, I'm telling them it's not very good, right? Because it's different. And what it came down to is analyzing the culture of, they didn't understand that it needed to taste the same, because the American consumer has an expectation that this is what it tastes like. It's always going to taste like this. And we marketed it in a way like, we didn't say every batch is going to be different. Right. So what wound up happening is, they felt like if they just did the best job they could possibly do, and trust me, they put their effort into it, that this would be the best tequila. And you know what? It probably was one of the best, but it didn't taste the same as the first. Right. So culturally, we had to explain to them, like, we understand that you did the best job you possibly could do, and we're so appreciative, but the batches have to taste the same for consistency as we build the brand, where people's expectations are that it always tastes this way. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we just thought if we did the best we could, like, you guys would be happy, And so it was a good lesson in communication and cultures, the difference between doing the best job they possibly could do and following a recipe so that it always tastes the same. Right. So I don't know if you have any, there's tons of stories about culture and understanding, even in the United States, the left versus the right, Christians versus non, all these different things, but understand the cultures of people that you do business with. So do you have any examples or thoughts on that? Because I think it's so important.
Well, I do. And it comes to mind as, and you just brought it up, depending on who you're talking to, you're always in a different culture. Every room has its own culture. Every business meeting has its own culture, right? I can go to, a pachyderm meeting, or, the health board meeting that I have today. And I know what the expectation is. There's a different culture in that meeting than there is at a city council meeting, or that there is at, if you're at a speaking event somewhere, or if you're at church, So even though we're part of the same culture, even those different areas that you are in have their own culture.
They're like microcultures.
Yeah, they're like microcultures. So yeah, the value system, the overall value system is the same. The belief system is the same. The things that bring us together are the same. But being in business, you have to be able to walk through all of those different doors. And I actually, and maybe I'll do this sometime, because we wear so many hats that we don't even think about, right? And when you're talking to construction workers is different than when you're talking to college professors, which is different than when you're talking to your military buddies, or, it's just, you adapt. And people who don't do that are socially awkward.
Yeah.
They're just not as successful, because they don't either appreciate or understand, and you don't have to be an expert in all those different areas, but you do have to have a genuine appreciation for those different subcultures. And I think the reason a lot of people don't do that is because it's work. It takes work to understand people and level up. And some people just don't want to do the work. They're all about themselves, and other people need to accept me the way I am, as opposed to you saying, I need to adapt. So that's thought number one. Thought number two, and this is what amazes me. We're just a few miles, an hour maybe, from Canada. And so we have a lot of Canadians, in fact, dual citizens even, that are down here. I have a lot of friends that are Canadians and business people. So when I see people from Canada come down and drive erratically, breaking laws, speeding, cutting people off, and that sort of thing, I thought, how much different is that? When I go to Colorado, I'm more attentive to how I drive, because I'm in somebody else's territory. I don't know what their police force is going to be like. I don't know how their highway patrolmen are going to treat me. I'm in a different environment, even though I'm in the United States. So I couldn't imagine going to another country and not being on my absolute positively best behavior.
Sure.
And maybe that's from watching, the Midnight Express, the guy in Turkey who, it can end badly if you get yourself in over your head. So, but it takes effort. I guess that's the long and the short of it, is you need to be a people watcher, an observer of people, and appreciate people, different people groups. And you can't get into those sets if you don't have a sincere appreciation for them.
And that's where the work is, right? Like,
yes,
looking, observing, that's work. And then learning to appreciate the cultural difference, and also having respect for that culture, and finding where you can mesh together, for enjoyment, or for just getting along, or getting through the process, or getting through business, or whatever that looks like. I love that you brought up subcultures within a culture, because I didn't even think about going that deep on this conversation. But for example, I'm consulting for a ranch over here, and it's a boarding facility, and they have feed and tack and all that stuff. And there's like 5 subcultures within that culture, because so this is an equine facility, but you've got Western, you've got English, you've got dressage, like you've got show, and in these cultures, every single one of them are so different.
Yes.
So we had a barrel racing and pole bending, which is Western style riding, basically, going on in the outdoor arena. And a boarder walked by, and she does English. And she walks by and she goes, I don't see a single helmet anywhere. In other words, like wearing one, right? And she had hers on. Well, I'd venture to say that the Western riders are going, why would they wear those helmets? You know what I mean? Like, I can't say I've seen too many Western riders in a helmet, outright there. Because if you didn't know, in rodeo, you have to wear, full pants, Levi's, boots, tucked in, long sleeve, collared, button-up shirt, and, head apparel.
Right.
And if you lose like your hat when you're riding, that's points off in your ride, in your performance. Right. So anyways, I just thought, wow, these people really are that different. Like she was almost put off that nobody had a helmet on. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just so wild. But Rod, I think you make a beautiful point, is that you have to work at it. And I have found in business, when I can assimilate and understand and observe, I can be more successful in that transaction.
Absolutely.
So anyways, I thought it was
that takes effort. Yeah. And the lesson for that, for us, speaking of subcultures, men and women are different subcultures within a culture. Even in your own family, there's a different subculture. My wife was talking just before I came onto this call today about some concerns that she has with what we're dealing with right now. And I was all Mr. Fix It. Well, there's this, there's that. I'm that's just who I am. It's what I do. But I was doing the wrong thing. I wasn't just listening and paying attention to those concerns. I was doing that fixer thing. And it takes more work to shut up.
Yeah.
When you want to do something that you think is going to be helpful. And so that's the work. The work sometimes is doing nothing but listening. And that is work. So there's a lesson for the day on topic number 1.
I'm totally that fixer thing too. So, okay. That was good. That was good discussion. All right. Topic number 2. This was my original topic. I added the culture thing on my way up after listening to Brad. So that was funny. This topic will save you money or save your ass. And I'll give a live example where I made a mistake so that people can understand how important it is. And that is proper documentation, especially as it relates to foundation elements of your business or partnerships or loans, purchase orders, all proper documentation. And so here's an example that I'll give. I had arranged for an opportunity for people to host an event at a property. And we were going back and forth on text. And it was kind of like we both wanted to have the event. We both thought it'd be like, oh, this is a good idea. It's good for the community, et cetera, et cetera. And then when it kind of came down to, well, what's it going to cost? And, where's the revenue? And I said, well, let's do this. Let's do $100 minimum or $15 a head, whichever's greater. I put that in a text. And since the first activity was going to be like a test run, we didn't really dig into the documentation. Well, afterwards, the event was a complete success. Lots of people. And when they came to pay the bill at the end of the day, they gave me $100. Now, what do you think happened there?
They gave you $100 for the entire event instead of $15 per person. There was a miscommunication, misunderstanding of what that $100 was going to buy. Exactly.
The misunderstanding was whichever is greater. That's the misunderstanding, right? So my neglect in drafting a formal document or even informal and left it at a text, which is as informal as you can get.
Right.
Probably cost me, well, it did. I know it cost me a lot of money. Right. So that's it. Look, nobody's perfect. And this is a recent occurrence and it's all good. No harm, no foul. I take the ownership of that. But it just reminds me of how important it is in today's society, because we place so much importance on a text communication now.
Yes.
I mean, look, I'm telling you, well, maybe an attorney wouldn't throw it out of court, but if you really got it in a bind, I'm not sure how much weight a text conversation will hold in a court of law, especially as it relates to big dollars and lawsuits and all those other things, because it's one communication, informal, without any signature, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyways, any thoughts on that? Because, man, you get in trouble fast.
That's a great example. And, clear communication is probably one of the downfalls of businesses, relationships. We take things for granted sometimes, but texting and emailing is never the same as having a physical conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And my philosophy, my business philosophy on this, and I try and use it as often as possible. Texting is convenient. but it doesn't replace communication. All right. It just doesn't. And I often say, especially if I'm texting back and forth with someone, if I'm texting back and forth with someone, especially about details with something, I pick up the phone and call them. And my attitude is this: a 5-minute phone conversation can save us an hour of texting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's be efficient. Let's be efficient, and let's just get to the bottom of it. And at the end of that conversation, in your case, you could have said, that's fantastic. Let me draft a quick memo that I can send over to you, outlining what we've just discussed. Mm-hmm. And then you can email it. You can send that as a text document, right? You can scan it and text it over. And then you've got something that is covering both of your bases. And if there was an issue after looking at the real document, because once we get something real and tangible in front of us, we pay more attention to it.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just a text. Now we have to look at, oh, he put this in writing. Let's make sure we understand it. And then we can get it done. So again, it takes effort and a little more time, but our society this is one of those cultural things. We've had a cultural shift in our communication, and it's some of it's been convenient, but it has eroded a lot of the professionalism that should be in our contacts. So,
well, yeah, effort. You're right. And so let's just take that a step further, to place a level of importance on this. I've taken 2 calls this week from some members of the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. I love that they're calling. I've got 2 more today, actually. It's fun to be a resource to our group, for our community. I love following their stories and being able to get on the call. Hey, how's that thing going? Right. But I have 2 calls this week of a few that both talk to me about partnerships and how to formulate them. And I'm like, well, what does your, operating agreement look like? Well, we don't have one yet. Well, how far down the line are you? Well, we're, we spent, 2,000 hours or whatever the number is. Right. It's like, wow. It's like, hey man,
that's an investment.
You need to document what your partnership looks like and what each of you are bringing to the table. And one member's like, yeah, well, our third party he got another job and he's not super involved. And I said, okay, so let me guess. You guys are putting all the money in and all the work in, and he's a third of the partnership. Well, basically, I said, and you haven't drafted it up. No, I said, look, you need to draft these things out, lay out people's expectations, and maybe he needs that other job. But at the same time, does he deserve a third of the business? Probably not, especially if he's not financially vested either. Everybody's got to bring equal. And that's where we talk about the value for value in a business transaction. If you're not giving value on both sides, it doesn't work long-term. Somebody's going to be bitter one day and it's going to explode on you. And if you don't have the right documentation, there you go. And I've had I've had 2 businesses where that's kind of how things ended. Like, you think all is good and well in the beginning, and you get a little bit down the road, it's like, oh, this isn't as much of a fit as I thought. And, then you have trouble. So if you're listening, Rod and I, we mapped out our business in advance, what that looked like, and knew, okay, this is a fit because it's how we operate, So anyways, I think it's a point worth making.
Yeah. The other part of that equation is, and we spend a lot of time talking about this. You started it. I did it intuitively. You do it intentionally. And so now I do it intentionally. And that's paying attention to the values of the partners before you even go into that agreement. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of us partner up because we have similar values. But if all of the important values aren't in alignment, we're going to be off. You might start off in step, but as you go down the road, all of a sudden somebody's out of step. And that once you're out of sync, that's when problems start coming up. And it typically is value related. Well, I did so much here, or I did that, or I made this phone call and I got that client. And, well, okay, but I did all the work. So yeah, those sources of bitterness and all that sort of thing start with a misalignment of values, and then a lack of spelling it out in writing and having that documentation. So it gets back to the same point. You just need to do the extra work and do it properly to protect everybody.
Yeah. And by the way, since you're talking about values of partners, and, because that's going to become part of your documentation, I'd also highly encourage people if you're taking on an investor or an investment group or an investment bank or VC money, I'd also look at the values of that institution or that individual. Because at some point in your business career or the life of your business, that money may have more control of your business than originally intended. And all of a sudden, if that money controls, even 30 or 40% of the business, and you're not aligned on values, the business could take a turn or a slight curve, away from your values. And when you, look in the distance of that curve, now you've got a gap. And then further down the road, now you got a mile in between their values and yours. I talk about all the time, Rod, my values: God, family, health, top 3, right there, giving back for, I had an investment partner years ago got invited to a quinceañera in Mexico. And we were flying down on their jet to conduct some business at the distillery, but this quinceañera was happening at the same time. So I said, we're going to go to this formality thing, and then we're going to go do the business on Monday, right? My investor says, I don't step foot in a church. Never have, never will. Wow. I was like, whoa. I was in shock. And I thought, you can't even go in for literally it was, I don't think if we weren't in another country and the entire town didn't walk into that church, this person wouldn't have went in. She wound up going in and sitting in the very back row the last minute and walked out first. That's how uncomfortable. And, so when you look at that difference between their values and mine, we were a lifetime apart, not even a mile. We were a lifetime apart. And that partnership dissolved within a year because of that. Right. I realized, holy cow. Actually, my wife realized. She says, Jim, your investors are no longer aligned with your values, and you're starting to become somebody in business that you didn't intend to be. And it took her to point that out. So, I know these are personal and touching stories or emotional type stories, but it all comes back to the documentation of your partnership and aligning your values, your needs, your wants, desires, what that all looks like all the way down to the dollars and cents. So,
well, there can be branding issues with that also. If one of those people that you took money from, if they didn't have good values, and all of a sudden you find out 10 years down the road that, they did something that could besmirch your company's name just because you're affiliated with them, again, it could matter. And the other thing is that I'm going to point this out too. When you do a document, it's not because you don't trust somebody. You're not drafting partnership agreements and that sort of thing, or legal documents because you don't trust them. It's to protect them. And in a document, in fact, for a contract to be a valid legal contract, it has to have consideration for both parties, right? You call it value for value. In legal terms, it's consideration. There have to be equal considerations for both parties. And if there are not, that contract is voidable. Doesn't mean it's void, but it is voidable, right? So you don't want to get into those contentious legal areas. So just do it right the first time to protect everybody. And I will even say this. It's kind of a different example, but related in a way, because it's so important. My wife, because she's licensed, she's in a profession that's licensed. She has to follow laws that have been established by the state of Montana through the Board of Alternative Healthcare. So there are representative people as well as professionals that draft the legislation that controls how and what she can do in her business. And those laws, some people think, oh my gosh, she just had a case recently where she had to literally refer a client out, and the client wasn't happy. The client says, no, I want to be with you. I want to do it this way. And my wife and her partner said, we cannot, the law will not allow us to continue this relationship. Mm-hmm. And the people said, but it's not their business and we won't tell anybody. And my wife said, no, I'm sorry, but we can't. And it's led to a rift. but the law is there to protect both of them. And my wife, because she consulted with me on that as well. And I said, well, look at it this way. If something were to happen, if you violated that law, you lost your license, how many other clients would that affect now? It's not just about you and this other person.
Sure.
If you're taken off the market, how many current clients would now suffer? Another 40 families would now suffer because of you made a decision that violated the law in secret for this one person. You can't do it. You can't make those kind of sacrifices. If you are in business and you're a professional, you have to do it the right way all the time. You don't find shady ways of working around it and set up shell corporations to funnel money through and put things as deductions that aren't legitimate deductions. You do it properly and in order to protect everybody. So that's the short rant.
No, that's a really important rant, because it's sometimes human nature to say, well, let's just circumvent that just once.
Right.
Which is, whether it's a white lie or a hard lie, it's still a lie. And those things come back to haunt you. And I love how you put that, is this doesn't just affect one thing. This affects multiple things. So what I was going to say, two things. One is, if you've got a partnership formulating and you're looking to draft up these documents, and one of your partners, whether you've got 2 or 10 or however many, doesn't want to draft up the formal documents, they're not going to be a good partner ever.
Right. Absolutely right. That's your first sign.
That's your first. Yeah. And you dodged a bullet if you're able to, remove that person from the equation, because, businesses have obligations, taxes and banking and accounting and all these things. So if they can't even, or aren't even willing to, make the time and the effort to document your partnership in a formal way, you're going to have problems with that person always. Yes. Always, guarantee it. Maybe you talk them into it and you're like, okay, well, they finally said yes. And maybe that, your first year is good. I guarantee you that habitually you will have issues with them. The other thing that I'd suggested to one of our members is, when you do document those things and you look at your partnership and what you're bringing to the table, right? Everybody's like, I got the best idea. I'm going to make millions, right?
Right.
Let's just say that best idea, you believe it could make $10 million. And here you are with your potential partners, and it's time to sit down and kind of draft what this looks like and, what we all brought to the table. When you do that, put the same time, energy, and effort into that original documentation before a single penny hits the bank, just like you would if it was worth $10 million.
Right.
Because nobody cares how good you set it up when there's $0 in the bank. But I absolutely guarantee you, when that thing's worth $10 million, like you anticipate and you dream about, and you think that it's going to be worth that, everybody's going to care, including somebody's second cousin's brother's daughter is going to care.
Absolutely.
And if you don't,
great analogy. That's a great way to look at it.
Well, you have to. And that's exactly what I tell people when it comes to drafting up their documents. If you think this thing's going to be worth X amount of dollars, you put the time, energy, and effort into it today. So when it's worth that, you're not fighting over the little details. They've already been done, because that happens. It's just like a goodwill, when somebody passes away, that you've put the effort into that. And let me tell you something, Rod, this is why this was a topic for today. More than 50% of the people that I tell this to don't do it. They just don't do it. And then they live to regret.
Are they afraid to that they're going to offend somebody?
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, I'm telling. Okay. Anyone who's listening to this, all right, then find a way to get it done anyway, right? Find a way to say, well, I'm going to do this for practice. I'm going to do this because it was assigned to me by my business coach as a practice run. And then once you have it all done, say, by the way, I'm going to have an attorney take a look at this, and he thinks it's great. And you know what? Even if you have to pay the money to get that part of it done, to protect yourself in the future from a potential bad deal or bad partnership or whatever, it will be worth it to invest in yourself and the protection of your business.
Yeah.
Even if the other partners don't agree, somebody has to step up and say, I'm going to do it anyway. And I could tell you an example of something like that happened, maybe another show.
Well, and
where you can actually acquire a business because somebody didn't do it the right way.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
I want to hear that one on another show. And I'll close with this because this is the most relevant thing based on what you just said. If you find yourself in that position where you are doing it on your own and present it as Rod just suggested, which I don't disagree with, by the way, it needs to be done. You might want to double think your partnership. What needs to happen is exactly what happened with Rod and I when we formed the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate and what we were going to do. It's actually the Warpath Alliance because we have other activities that we do. We said, hey, let's form the LLC. Great idea. Let's get it done. Boom, it was done. Hey, let's get our operating agreement done. Boom, it was done. Hey, we brought in a partner. Let's make sure that we formulate and document the new partner and give them their shares. Boom, that was done. There was always a priority and 100% agreement between the two of us. Now, if we were to sell the company, we know exactly what each partner owns, what they put into it, what's owed, what's not owed, and how to dissolve that relationship if we needed to, right? So if you find yourself having to do that because they won't, you might want to just double think that partnership. And if you're stuck on that partner,
advice.
If you're stuck on the partner, do what Rod said, 100% for sure. And I'll hope and pray that doesn't backfire you or you don't get into a bunch of troubles along the way trying to convince them to do other stuff. So that's my closing thoughts on that, Rod.
That's a great couple of topics, Jim. Sincerely, we hit it and we hit it hard and we hit it fast, don't we?
Well, we paid the dummy tax. I mean, I've made mistakes in both those arenas that we talked about tonight or today, whenever you're listening to this. And I just don't want people to go through it,
Absolutely.
And it's happened more than once and it'll probably happen to me again because you get a soft heart for a moment, but this show and the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate is about sharpening that sword and having the best tool to go after what you're looking for. Doesn't mean that we always do it right. Cause yes, we're human. We make mistakes, but if this just gives you one little more reminder to do it this way, or I don't want to call it the right way, cause we could be wrong on who knows, but just one little opportunity to be better. Maybe you won't make that mistake. Maybe I won't make the mistake again, so anyways.
Well, I'll put a guarantee on it. If you do the extra work and get this done, it will be to your benefit.
That's right.
It will be to your business's benefit. So just do it. Do it because it will benefit you.
That's right.
Okay.
Hard
work.
If you enjoyed the show, please share it. Let people know what we're up to over here. If you want to dive in with us as consultants, our team members or be a part of our community, go to the youngentrepreneurs.syndicate.com. Sign up. It's only $99 a month. And as I already suggested in this show, part of that $99 a month is not only an every Monday night Zoom call where we have a wonderful topic put forth by myself, our Rod, our Rachel, who's our marketing expert. But then we have a Q&A for anybody on the call to ask questions about your business and your needs. And we've always answered all the questions. I can't think of a time where we're like, oh, time's up, we got to go. We've always answered everybody's questions. And what happens in there, if you're looking for community and people to run your business ideas across, that's what we're doing, is building a community. We have a back end that we've formulated through the Jadari platform, which is basically like a private Facebook on our own server where everybody can communicate and have resources amongst each other. And we also have resources on there too. So if you're looking for anything like that, join us and you will have access to us and hopefully help you take the next step. Want to add anything to that, Rod? Because I'm having fun doing it.
I think, no, I'm having fun as well. People just you need to invest in yourself. How's that? Invest in yourself and take a look at the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. If it's a fit, we'd love to have you. And if you need to come and check us out, call us, email us, text us. We'll always respond.
Yep. True story. Even I have a coach for fitness. I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. Everybody needs a coach to take them to that next level. We'd love to be your coach. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in. Rod, I've got 7 days to come up with a new topic, and I will.
I look forward to it.
Right on. Bye, everybody.